first question I have is it Spike? Is it Chef Spike? How should I address the greatness that I'm speaking with today?
Oh my God, it could go so much deeper than that. The full real name is Evangelos Spiros Mendelsohn. So if you refer to me by, my royal name, that would be the one. But Spike, Chef Spike these days kind of works out pretty well. But some people just want to close friends just say Spike. I haven't been called Evangelos in I don't know 25 years, but that's my real name actually. So.
That's one of those things that comes up when you go, do I go by the Greek name? Do I go by the Greek nickname, the Americanized name? And then you hear yourself called that and you go, that's how I know that person. Yeah. That comes up when I speak with Constantine Morales from American Idol. I've been able to interview him a few times. I'm like, are you Gus or are you Constantine? What are you? And
people get really confused when they see Evangelos Spiros. They feel good about it. They feel real good about it. But then you throw in the Mendelsohn, and then they're thrown for a loop. They have all sorts of questions. And as a child, that I was susceptible to getting beat up many times with a name like that. That's a heavy name. Kids don't understand that name. So we roughed it up with Spike Mendelsohn. We figured that would draw the line in the sand and keep me safe. But yeah, I'm Gruish. So I'm Jewish and Greek. You combine those, you have Gruish, and this is my life story.
We're not going to talk about Clearwater, Florida in this conversation.
Oh my God, please. I could talk about Clearwater, Florida for years. Are you kidding me? Like Clearwater, that's one of my hometowns, I would have to say. It's one of 3 hometowns in my life. And what a beautiful, what do you know about Clearwater?
Well, I did a press trip, besides researching you, I did a press trip there a couple of years ago. And I was actually amazed with the culinary scene out there that's way under the radar. It's not just Hulk Hogan in Clearwater. Oh, there's a lot going on.
I used to rent him jet skis. That's how the Clearwater bubble works. Imagine me as a kid on the beach renting jet skis, and then the Hulkamania would come with a cigarette boat and the Ultimate Warrior down the beach. This is like my norm. They would pull up, rent Wave Runners from me. That was my life in Clearwater. But you're right, it's beyond like Frenchie's grouper sandwiches and boneless chicken wings and crab legs. You have to do a little digging in Clearwater to find the spaces, because there's even like Tarpon Springs, which is like the Greek area, which obviously I go too much. St. Petersburg has had a really nice uplifting, like hip Brooklynish style of culinary thing going on there with like the microbreweries and things of that sort. And then Tampa, you got, you got Burns Steakhouse, which is one of your best, obviously.
Yeah.
It's a classic place. But then you got your small pockets of restaurants with like the known chefs and stuff like that. So we just opened up in Clearwater. We opened up We the Pizza right there on the beach, and we're about to open up Good Stuff Eatery in a couple months, actually. So, but I always tell people, don't sleep in Clearwater. It's the Caribbean of the Americas, and if you don't, and that's how I describe it. It's very island-like. It's not Miami. It's right. It's not anything else like the rest of Florida, really. So,
but rather than doing a commercial for Clearwater, we're here to talk about you and your greatness. And there, of the many great chefs that one will encounter on a regular basis, very few of them have that entrepreneurial gene. Did you have that early on, and you kind of had to keep it quiet that you had the goals of having all these restaurants, or is this an evolved goal?
Wow. Listen, the very interesting question, Darren. No one's really asked.
Every now and then I have one of them. Yesterday I was talking to Fraggles. You're easier to speak with than Fraggles.
No one's ever asked me that before, but it's funny you say that, because I'm a restaurant rat. I mean, listen, I grew up in the business. My grandfathers and his brothers, the Greek mafiosos that they were, ran restaurants in Montreal, the most famous restaurants in Montreal. My mother grew up in the business, so she's a kitchen rat, if you can believe it. She's down with the homies in the kitchen and on the lines, and that's my mom, so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial restaurant family. We, when I was 13, we traveled to Spain and opened up as a family, as a group of, 12 of us, actually. We opened up 18 venues in an exposition in the World Expo. So restaurants, entrepreneurship, fast casuals, fine dining restaurants, just fine dining as a fan, like going out to the nicest restaurants when I was, very lucky, obviously. My parents weren't like well off. They fought for every penny that they made, but they sure dined well, they really did. So yeah, I mean, that ingrained a huge degree of entrepreneurship from the get-go. And I noticed during culinary school, when I finally decided to go to culinary school, that I had some advantages in the kitchen that I hadn't realized I had. That was one thing. Like I knew how to make a béarnaise and stocks and this and that and knife cuts. People didn't know that stuff. But the other part that was growing inside me throughout my career is I don't think people really understand the degree of entrepreneurship and restaurateurship that I had and I wasn't ready to unleash all that. But in the last 5 years, really, to tell you, it's really been like so much more restaurateur than chef. It's still, obviously I still doing creative stuff, but I have come into my own. And I always look back and I was like, kind of look back to see what makes you. And it's all these experiences with my uncles in the restaurant industry, with my mom and with my father as an accountant, like, juggling every penny. That it's a business of pennies. It's a business of pennies. That's been ingrained in my life forever. So great question. Never been able to answer that. So thanks. Well, that was enjoyable to answer.
You mentioned culinary school, and I know that you went to the Culinary Institute of America, CIA. I'm wondering if mise en place was totally forced on you, and that's in your DNA.
Oh yeah. Mise en place was if you ask my wife now, I mise en place my whole entire fucking livelihood, like like everything. The kid, it's all when it's ready to dress him for hockey, is like I've got everything lined up, like I'm about to cook his hockey equipment on the line. But I mean, mise en place was all, I'd say there was a lot more disorganized mise en place in my childhood, like especially growing up in the Florida restaurants when we moved away from like Montreal, and 8 balls of cocaine were part of the mise en place back then, right? And those are not mine. Those were these older guys that I was working with as a kid in the kitchen. I mean, listen, you grow up in a subculture like a kitchen, you see everything, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got my job in France for my apprenticeship that I did for a year, and the French taught me everything about that, and how important it is, and they taught me also like the classic, cuisine, like the sauces and the stocks, and that's where I get my base of cuisine from, is from the French. But mise en place was like really embedded at that 3 Michelin star restaurant. It was just like, and that kind of, and that attached with military school in my life, I'm a mise en place pro, really,
Well, I'd have to imagine that that's needed with the growth that you've had of the Plant Burger establishment, with growing so quickly. Was it the first one opened in 2019 and now there's 9?
Yes. There is 9. So we were lucky, a little bit of luck, a lot of hard work, and a good team. So we opened our first one in Silver Spring about a month and a half, 2 months before the pandemic, and it came out of Seth Goldman and I had a relationship. He snuck Beyond Burgers under my seat, and I brought him my wife, and we ate him. I loved him. I was like, I love this. And then finally, after they IPO'd Beyond Meat and he resigned as TEO for Honest Tea, he's ready to get back up into startup mode and gave me a call. So he's like, I got this idea. If you want to test this concept out that you came up with. I was like, oh my God, I would love to. And it did really well in Silver Spring. I mean, we had 115 square feet and we were doing 6,000 a square foot, right? And it was like, it was a ghost kitchen, like it was like the first ever ghost kitchen. We tapped into their, their gas, their roofs. It was built out. We're just paying a percentage fee. It's exactly what it was. The pandemic hit and they deemed grocers essential. So all restaurants closed and Whole Foods and grocers remained open. And the other thing that happened with Whole Foods, this is where the luck comes in, is that their hot offerings, their buffets, like that huge area that makes them a ton of money per square footage, right? completely closed. Like that couldn't happen anymore. So that whole area of Whole Foods was kind of dead. And here we were like this shiny little new brand. And we were just busting numbers. And then we were going to third-party deliveries as soon as like we saw like flow of traffic kind of not go in. And then we were presented the opportunity to open up more within Whole Foods because they saw what we were doing per square footage, and they're like, we need something to bring people in. And so before you know it, we would recognize what Whole Foods would allow us to go in there, and like had everything kind of set up. And within 2 weeks, we would turn around the restaurant and have a plant burger open, like literally 2 weeks. And that's where like the team that, you know, we had to sit with the team and be like, listen, are we going to grow this during a pandemic? Like, how do we feel about this? And, you know, we got unanimous decision from everybody. If one person didn't feel good about it, we weren't going to do it. Everyone felt great about it. So we went ahead and did it. And we were able to open up 9 more that way. So it was, you know, developed a brand and you know, had, you know, we had to expand really quick. And as well, like comply with CDC guidelines and do all that kind of stuff. At the same time, just kind of learn, you know, just make sure we're doing it safe. And that really kind of is what led us to the opportunity where today here we're, you know, opening up our first brick and mortar in New York City. We haven't outgrown the Whole Foods strategy. It's still there for us. We're still going to grow with Whole Foods. But you know, as an entrepreneur, we have to bring these big sales to the table, right? You know, we're still doing a fraction of what Shake Shack does on the streets, for instance. You know, although it's a very good business and sound, we need to level up. So New York was, you know, we looked at a bunch of cities, to be honest with you, Boston, LA, and DC, my home, in my stomping grounds, and New York was the place to kind of come do this.
So it sounds like your success is not just planning and it's not just luck. It seems like it's a hybrid of the two, where you're keeping your eyes and ears open, but you also have the ideas for scaling things.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. And I think that's what I would recommend any restaurateur that asks me any advice on like how to proceed in this space. You know, it's kind of like, you know, working your way up a brigade system. You know, keep your eyes open, do the work well, learn, but pay attention and ask a ton of questions, you know, but speak only when you should be speaking, you know, like kind of thing. Like, so it's a little bit like that, you know?
Well, I have 2 quick questions for you and then you're a free man. Are you ready for them?
Of course.
Okay. Being a chef, there's so many damn skills going on, whether or not you have all the restaurants and all the management, but it's a creative field that not everybody realizes is as creative as it gets. Do you have any other creative talents beyond the culinary world? Like, are you a guitarist?
You know, unfortunately, I use all my creative juice that I have in my body and I put it towards culinary arts. I would love to sit here and tell you I was a pianist, like really amazing at the piano, or guitarist. And these are things I have tried to do in my life, and I am horrible at them. So what I set out to do in my life is just befriend, you know, artists and musicians that I can have in my life and vicariously live through them. So, you know, I am horrible at music. I mean, I really wish I was. I'm just starting to maybe, you know, it's kind of like we live in an age that anybody can be an artist now, right? Like, you know, paint stuff. So I've just recently, and even because I have my kid and we do paint days and draw days, I'm starting to like mess around in that kind of stuff. You know, I'm into NFTs, but that doesn't really take any talent. You know, as of right now, you just gotta do research and things of that sort. But no, unfortunately, no. I have no other talents other than cooking, and that's why I'm stuck.
I don't buy it. I think you're being modest, and we're gonna find out in 2.5 years that you perfect the instrument.
I'm gonna come out with my Banksy painting or something like that. I always want to do these food art pieces. I have this idea. I want to do a l'orange piece as an element to the classics, you know, and this get some orange paint out and do some abstract painting.
I'll check that out. Hey, if that happens, keep me posted. The last thing I got for you is
who's an amazing. I'm sorry. You know who's an amazing artist though?
No.
And like
I don't know anyone who's amazing artist. No.
Jack Pepin.
Yes.
You know that, right? Like he is actually an amazing artist. I did a documentary. I produced a documentary on the Inn at Little Washington, and I did that because I'll tell you really quick. And I know this is maybe more than you asked for, but we established that I had a love of French cuisine and 3-star restaurants and Relais and Chateaus, and that's really like where I wanted my career to go. I wanted to be a 3 Michelin star chef. I read all the books. I went all to the right places to train. I did Top Chef, derailed those dreams. Fast Casual came in, capitalized there. So that got left behind. But, you know, Patrick O'Connell, when he came to my school years ago, he's the one that inspired me to go to the Relais and Chateau I worked at in France. My parents had talked about it because they had a honeymoon there, but I never really bought what they were saying. But he was the one that was like, no, like, if there's anything you do, go work at that Relais and Chateau. Like, you go there. So I went there and I had worked there, and that's like kind of what set my whole life, like, you know, my standards. But about 10, 15 years later, I reconnected with Patrick, and I was able to go to his restaurant and eat, and he gave me the chef table. And my wife and I were sitting there, and I was like, it just transported me back to the Relais and Chateau, because his Relais and Chateau is often described as the Le Creuset of America, right? Like the one I worked at, they compare them a lot. And I was just like almost in tears in the restaurant. I was like, the brigade was there right in front of my face. I was seeing the young cooks. I was like, man, I miss this so much. There's no way I can go back, right? Like, there's no way I can go. I miss this so much. So I pitched him on a documentary, just like on a whim. I was like, man, you've never documented any of this. Shoot this. So we produced a documentary on him. And during that documentary, that's kind of how I had discovered Jack Pepin was like a rock star, like, artist, because he has like this painting of that Jacques Pepin gave it to him. And I was like, wow, I was like, I never knew what a degree of an artist he was, you know, like I never knew that. So like, you know, it gave me a little confidence and be like, oh, maybe I should paint a little bit.
The Duck L'Orange, the goals.
Yes.
I'll say. And the last question I've got is, we did see you on television. You had your foray into reality TV, but interestingly, you derailed from the whole thing in a great way. You don't have a lot of free time, but do you have one TV recommendation you could pass along to someone who needs a new show to start?
A new show to start?
Any kind of a show, even if it's from 8 years ago, something that you never really got the chance to see. Because all the time I'm discovering shows that were on Hulu 5 years ago, and they were great and no one talked about them.
Yeah. Culinary, you thinking in the culinary world?
Anything really. I'm always looking for more media to consume. I'm not sure you'll be able to find any, but did you ever watch like MXC on Spike TV? I loved Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Now that was I loved it because it reminded me of the first Iron Chefs where they dubbed over the voices.
Yes.
To me, like I was very relatable to that. I was like, oh, I watch Iron Chef. I could watch this. And so yeah, I mean, like that was one of the shows that I loved to watch. That was my pastime TV. So for those out there that have not watched that, this new generation, we started it all with MXC back in the day. You guys have got this is like the new. You guys are on TikTok. We had MXC back in the day. All right. So
that recommendation is why I'm a customer for life of what you do. That just says it all. So I can't thank you enough for your time, and looking forward to trying that New York location as soon as I'm back in New York.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All the best. Great to see you.
Paltrocast.